products. I serve as chair of the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, and my background and my degrees actually are in agriculture. So when this issue started to become interesting, I learned about it by going to a conference where I heard other states talking about how they were adopting industrial hemp as a test crop. Here's how this all came about. And by the way, there are 19 other states that are already ahead of Pennsylvania. And in a state that thinks that agriculture is such an important industry, sometimes we call it our #1 industry, why aren't we on this? We got to get moving on this, folks. But at any rate, what has happened as a result of the Farm Bill, that's something those of us in agriculture read before we go to sleep. It's like a phone book. But within the codes in the Farm Bill, there was a section which gave states the ability, if they would pass legislation, to start testing the use, researching the use and marketing of industrial hemp. Industrial hemp is the same genus and species as marijuana, as the marijuana that we're talking about for medical cannabis or the recreational marijuana. But it's like the difference between sweet corn and field corn. Both sweet corn and field corn share the same genus and species, Zea mays. However, they are so very different based on the difference in cultivars. One has much more sugar. It has, many more, different qualities to it. Same thing is true here. And under the federal guidelines, the THC, which would be the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, can only be 0.3%. And that's what I put into the legislation in SB 50. You could not smoke enough of this you could not without getting really, really sick. And maybe that you would define as being high, I don't know, but that's certainly not something that anybody would do. Let me tell you about what we can do under this bill, then we'll talk about what hemp can do for Pennsylvania. Under the legislation that I've drafted, and by the way, Representative Diamond, I believe, has also drafted a companion House bill. So we're going to try to move these through the legislature and both sides of the legislature. In this bill, what we would do is establish a board, which would consist of officials from the Department of Agriculture, some other regulatory agencies. This board would regulate the growth of research plots of hemp. And this would have to be done under the auspices of an institution of higher education. So it would be like a Penn State, or it might be a University of Pennsylvania, but Penn State, of course, is our land-grant institution, has a College of Agriculture. Delaware Valley is another school that has agriculture. So this board would, working with those colleges, would release licenses to farmers under my legislation, because if you look at the federal legislation, it says that you have to have a Penn State on board, but it doesn't mean you absolutely have to grow it at Penn State. So this would give us an opportunity to grow this in test plots all over Pennsylvania. We could do research on the crop. We could learn about marketing. In other words, we kind of walk before we run. I've got to tell you that some of the other states that are doing this have different bills or different legislation, and they're operating it differently. But we felt very strongly in a state like Pennsylvania, we better walk before we can run, and at least start with something that we think we could get past. Why industrial hemp? I can't tell you how impressed I've been as I've learned about this. And Les will tell you a lot about it as well. He'll tell you the history and much more than I know about it. But as I've learned as I've bought hemp products, just looking at the nutritive value, let's start with that. So you look at what is extracted from the seeds, and the seeds are an incredible source of a great oil. There's wonderful protein available in it. It has all of the essential amino acids that are necessary for life. It is, it's got a great balance of the fatty acids as well, vitamin E and trace minerals. So you'll see it in all kinds of nutritive products. You've heard of the pretzels made out of hemp, right? You've seen those before? Well, I put together this little kit of all these different products of hemp. I had nut butters, and I had oils and stuff, and I had a bag of pretzels. So I was giving a talk at a senior center, and I thought I'd bring this stuff along. They love this. They were so excited about it. I'm passing all this stuff around. So when they passed the stuff back, the pretzel bag was open and empty. They ate all my pretzels, and they loved them. So, it's certainly something that every generation can obviously enjoy. I'll have to get another bag of those pretzels.
That's right.
They are good. But beyond that, this crop also can be used in industrial applications as well. Farm applications. It has a lot of lignin in the stem. It's a relatively tall plant. Lignin is like the connective tissue in a plant. It's very woody. So it can be burned as biomass, or it can be used as bedding for animals. It can be used as a filler in insulation. It's been used in other countries, actually even the panels of cars for insulation. The oils also can be used in industrial applications as well. It really, really has a lot of benefit. And it's a crop that is so well suited to Pennsylvania. We've got the soils, we've got the climate, and we've got the access to markets too. So it's something that we need to start working on. Where we are right now is we've got about, Senator Fulmer, about 12 sponsors on this. If you live somewhere else and you know others who have a different senator, why not talk to them about being a co-sponsor on this? We'd like to get a hearing in the Agriculture Committee so that we can bring out some of this information, get guys like Les and Erica to that hearing so they can talk about it and help people see that this is not something dangerous just because it has the same name. Again, that's that name thing, Dalen, that we've got to get over. This has so many opportunities for us in Pennsylvania. So I would like to see this certainly happen, and hopefully if you have any questions or would like to talk about it further, I'll certainly welcome the opportunity to do that. I will tell you too, though, that recently some senators, and I think there's also a companion bill in the House of Representatives, federal, Congress, that would actually open up the growth of industrial hemp. So we could kind of skip that step-by-step process that I talked about. But until that gets passed, this is what we have. I'd rather see something get done now, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So we're going to continue to work on this. Thank you, everyone.